tide, under pressure we stand tall. Feel the thrill when Kane strikes, we play smart. Witness glory in the trials, we play our part. Through the struggles, cheers, we echo loud. Hold my scarf like a banner, feeling proud. Yet through the lows, the spirit seldom quivers. Watching legends, we're dreamers, not just believers. In the stands, the emotions palpable, powerful. In the field of dreams, our cheers unstoppable.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest and last Cads podcast of the season. I don't think we'll be doing one after the friendly, the glorified friendly on Wednesday. But thank you everyone for joining us. I am joined by four lovely gentlemen. They're here to talk about all things Tottenham, all things Blades, all things Man City, all things financial fair play or whatever else we happen to be talking about this evening. But first of all, let's talk about the game just gone. Let's talk about the matchup against Sheffield United. A Sheffield United that fell on their blade earlier in the season but took a couple more cuts right at the end. How did we all enjoy it?
I got it.
Oh, that was clever, Stu. How long did you take thinking all that?
Literally, there was not even any scripting tonight.
Is it just like tripping off your tongue? It's amazing.
That one was, absolutely.
I think we should end the podcast right now. I think.
Okay, thank you everybody. No, I'm joking. We're good.
Charlie, move over. You've got competition.
This way. Yeah.
So, who watched the match? Who enjoyed the match? What did you get from it?
You know, let me start. One thing, you know, if we had, we played Aston Villa twice. We were actually better in both games. We won the away game 4-0. We lost the home game. We should have won that game. If we had reversed that score, we would have finished in 4th. They would have finished in 5th. I don't know if we would have been ready for Champions League, but it was pretty close if you think about it. I think they lucked out in pipping us to the post. But nice to see us back in Europe, and I look forward to seeing what Ange does with and hopefully a deeper squad.
Okay, Charlie, what do you think?
Both games we're talking about here, I suppose. I thought we turned up very well for the Manchester City game. First of all, I watched it at the LA Spurs pub, which is in fine fettle. Ashley, you're very much missed. Great club down there. Great if you ever find yourself down this way. Fantastic bunch of people to very good voice they were the whole time. So good job there's no children present, but it was a lot of fun. The games, I mean the Manchester City game, I remember watching it and turning to the person next to me and saying multiple times how this was probably the best we've played since those first 10 matches of the season, to be honest. I felt like we had a command of the game, which was, in many ways, it was focused, but there was a degree of fearlessness and we were passing it through the lines. And I just think we knew we had to turn up. And there was a strange degree of pressure, wasn't there, on that game? It was a very odd game and the crowd were very sort of, obviously we can go into that, but the crowd was, there was a dividedness about it. We didn't get that usual, come on, you Spurs, further in the crowd. And for some reason, it took the pressure off in some way. And we were playing, an unhurried but very, very measured and almost adventurous and fearless brand of football that I thought we were very unlucky actually to concede that first goal. That was bad defending from I can't remember who's at the near post who should have covered it. I think it was I don't want to say Romero, but it was a bit of a tap in the end.
It was Romero. Yeah, he lost his man.
And the penalty at the end, I don't think we deserved to lose that game, to be honest. And can you just imagine if Sonny had put that chance away? I mean, there's so many things to break down about it, and I could go into the Sheffield United game, but it was a slightly more routine, and I just thought we again just sort of played our game. I loved seeing Decky up front. I thought he had a great striker's touch. Yeah. And I mean, it was Sheffield United at the end of the day. There's not much you can take from it. You can't really break it down and say that we've made progress. We should have beaten them. They are the most, well, I think, was it jointly the most goal goal. Um,
Good.
have to
Goals
sit.
against.
Got -69.
Goal
It was a
difference.
record equaling with Derby County of the '94 season, kind of thing. So yeah, we should have beaten them at the end of the day, and so it wasn't a great measure of where we're at. But I think we all know what was going to happen in the closed season. I'm very excited to see what we pop up with in August. To be honest.
Okay, Austin, what were your thoughts?
Well, I didn't see the game on Sunday. I had a house guest who's only just gone home today, and I've only seen the highlights, so I can't comment on the whole game. I can comment on the Man City game because I did watch that live, and I actually thought we were excellent against City, and I felt we were genuinely thought we were unlucky. I questioned the penalty at the end. I thought that was a questionable penalty because I did think he got the ball. I thought we played better than they did. I actually thought we played probably the best football I've seen since the early parts of the season.
Yeah.
I saw the highlights of the game yesterday, and I'd hoped to try and watch the whole game before I came on here tonight, but I just didn't get the chance. I had to go to work this afternoon, and
Measuring those windows.
I just sort of got back a little while ago, so I haven't had time to look at that. But from the highlights, it looked like we had a lot of chances, and I thought it looked like some of the football we played was very, very good. But highlights is highlights. It's like watching a player that you're hoping to sign, and you go on YouTube and they look fantastic, and then they turn out to be shit.
The Vincent Janssen effect is what you're talking about.
That's harsh, yes, but yes.
Yeah, if you're going by highlights, we deserve to win that game about 6-0 because we were considerably better than them in terms of highlights. If you're going by the actual match, then we deserve to win that game about 6-0 because we were considerably better than them throughout the entire match, effectively, I thought. David, what did you think?
Yeah, so the Manchester City match I also watched it in a pub with some other Spurs fans. Weren't a lot of us, and so I could get the feeling of the full range of mixed emotions about the match. Lots of people sort of like cheering Sonny on as he bore down on goal, and then going, "Oh, actually, maybe I don't want him to score. Maybe I do." Anyway, both matches, I thought there was. I think you've all said the interesting stuff, but just one thing to add. I thought it was interesting that Ange has started trying new stuff all of a sudden, and I'm really happy to see it. Things like playing Decky as a striker, I thought worked really well, and I think that's actually quite a decent place for him to play. Things like Vicario coming out and playing almost as a central defender when we're in possession, and Cutie going over to the right. It lets Porro play much further forward. All sorts of like really interesting things, like lots of players coming back onto form. I thought Bentancur was good. By the way, in City, I thought Højbjerg was really good. From that sixth position, we've talked about it a couple of times on the podcast that we need someone that can ping a longer ball out to the wingers and things. He was doing that. He did that a few times, and I thought that worked really well. So I can't say I enjoyed the City match, but I did think we played well. It was just such a weird experience. I mean, my son refused to come to the pub because he just said, I want us to lose, and I said, I'm going to watch it. So he watched it at home. And then, of course, as soon as it started, he wanted us to win. So
Dave,
all the weird emotions,
Dave, what do you think about what you were just saying, Van de Ven on the left there? Last two games.
He did really well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was responsible for at least one of the goals against Sheffield United, if I remember rightly. And I think he was quite involved in another goal while he's been playing on that side. I don't think it's his position, but I think it's great to have him as an option. I mean,
He scored a very nice goal against Burnley.
That's what I was thinking about. Yeah. Sorry, thanks.
Yeah.
Can I just say something with regards to the systems that echo what Ange is trying to do? You see, I mean specifically Man City. I thought Guardiola was a central defender, and I know he's played in there. And I certainly know that John Stones is a central defender. I think I don't know if this was happening earlier in Pep's reign. Maybe you guys can sort of tell me, but the ability for those defenders to play across the back four and into the sixth role, I think is something that this sort of Udogie injury has been a blessing in disguise, in the sense that we haven't had a choice. He's had to push Van de Ven into that position, which is something that I think the fans, to be fair, I mean, certain of us on here sort of said, why wouldn't you play Van de Ven there, given his quickness, and bring Dragusin in? But also with respect to the Romero stepping into six, which is kind of a John Stones sort of thing that's been happening, and Kyle Walker having that ability to come inside and play central defence. I don't see, I really embrace that lack of rigidity, that flexibility for players to be, to be omnipresent across that back four across the season.
In terms of has he done it before? When he was at Celtic, his centre backs basically played as midfielders. They were effectively sixes themselves. The full-backs played as eights. Your eight normally played as a 10, and your 10 played as a centre forward effectively. So it was very, very, very attacking.
Who played defence?
No one played defence. That was the point. The goalkeeper.
Well, isn't that
Darley, the wingers?
Although that is also kind of the problem, because as bad as Sheffield United were, if they'd had even a half decent striker, they'd have had a goal.
Are you saying that Cameron Lancaster is not Premier League quality?
Yeah, I am. I'm saying Sheffield United aren't.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I think that's very clear from their position and the number of points they've picked up, and the 100 or so, 106 goals I think they've conceded over a season, which is a Premier League record.
I thought the first 10 minutes we were absolute rubbish against Sheffield United. It took us a while to get going, but once we got going, we were really good. But in that first 10 minutes, I think we could have shipped a goal or two, and against a better team, we would have. Yeah, so I don't want to be, Debbie Downer, but it's worth mentioning.
What about the tactic in the City game of playing without a number 9 and then 4 midfielders? That was a change as well. Great to see him do some changes. Maybe it's been forced upon him. But what do we think about having those 4 midfielders and essentially 2 guys out wide and no number 9?
I thought it was quite interesting that the players were taking it in turns almost to run through, because there were points where the central defence, the City defenders, just didn't know who to pick up.
Exactly.
It was like Bentancur would start the run, their defender would move towards him, and then suddenly Maddison would be pinging round the corner, and there'd be positions and space there, and it created some opportunities for us. And I think that was probably the most interesting.
Is it organised chaos?
Yeah, it could well be. Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem to me that there to be any sort of rhyme or reason to it. There's no fluidity to it yet, which is probably why we're shipping so many chances, because our offence is not the best right now. Our offence is not our best form of defence. I think you remember, like Man City back in the earlier days of Pep, they would ship a goal. They weren't impervious at the back, and their defence definitely wasn't their best attribute. But as time has gone on, I think people have sort of gotten used to their roles a little bit better, and that organised chaos has turned into more of a sort of, I suppose a sort of understood fluidity between them all.
Yeah, and I think also because it's quite early days playing like that, and I think it's a good option, but they have to get used to it. Every now and against Manchester City, although I really liked it, every now and again I thought we're in an offensive position, but there's nobody in the box because we haven't quite figured it out yet. Like sometimes it worked really well and sometimes it didn't. So sometimes it made us look a bit toothless.
Mm-hmm. The one thing
I think we are. Sorry,
Stuart. No.
Well, I was just going to say the other thing there. Sorry, buddy. Me or you? The other thing there was like that sort of inability to penetrate the 6-yard box or to get balls or get in towards the penalty spot because it's so conjunctivated in there. Again,
that's a word.
It's not a word. I made that one up. Conjunctivitis. It's basically there's no space in that penalty box and no one willing to take a Foden from the D.
I thought the interesting thing was that against Man City, we didn't seem to have anyone who was specifically set to go through the centre. Against Sheffield United, it was very much Kulusevski as the guy who's supposed to be going through the centre. Also, the thing I did enjoy seeing was Pat Matasar playing significantly deeper and being more of the simple pick it up and pass it round kind of player. I think that may be where his future lies. Because
do you mean against Sheffield United, Stu?
Against Sheffield United, yeah. Sorry.
He got No, you didn't. I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure that I understood that you were saying Pap against Sheffield United played well, because he got a lot of slagging. I thought he was perfectly serviceable, and he was in that role where, as if he doesn't make a mistake, then you're not really going to notice all that much what he's doing. And he got a bit of a slagging in the match thread. Um, I'm not clever enough to know whether it was justified or not, but interesting that you thought he played well there.
It's that, as you said, it's that position where you don't really stand out unless you make a mistake, or you look for it. If you look for it and you see the guy who's actually passing the ball around neat and tidy, and stopping their attacks and doing a very tidy job, I thought he did well. Again, as always, I could very well be wrong. Happens a lot, but it's just my fault. So yeah.
No, but he goes back to what I said in the last pod, which is we've got a bunch of central mid. They're not exactly sixes, but they're not eights either. And that's a bit. Pat Matasar's not a six, and he was playing deeper. Bentancur also played deeper some of the time. So some of them, I don't know whether it's we need to change our setup and we need to say, okay, so we're having these hybrid sixes and eights, and they're all playing, and they're all like, I don't know, swapping positions and things like that, which could be really cool. Or we need a really good six. Yeah,
That one.
Yeah,
That
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah,
I think it's a really good six is what we need.
But I think if we have a really good six, then I think at the end of next season we'll be saying our eights aren't good enough, because the eights, the people that we're looking to be playing eights like Bentancur or Sarr are not eights either. I just kind of wonder about whether players that are in midfield, have the abilities to do what Ange might want them to do.
I think by the end of next season, we'll have seen even more bedding in time. We'll see a couple of new players. Well, we're certainly going to see one new player, Berival. We'll see him. I'm sure, for me, he's an 8. I don't see him being disciplined enough to be a 6. There was a thread on... Well, I know there was a thread because I started it. There was a thread on his game against Elfsborg. And I said in that one, it was good to see him because he's clearly got a lot of confidence. I like the way he takes the ball on the turn. I like the way he commits players. I like the way I like his touch. He's very self-assured. Wasn't such a fan of him losing the ball quite deep. Wasn't such a fan of him drifting out wide and leaving massive spaces in front of his defence. I was like, oh, did that at Spurs? There might be some issues because, when the ball gets turned over, that space will definitely get attacked. But there's a player in there, certainly. One thing I do want to talk about...
coming back, Stu.
Sorry?
We've also got Alfie Devlin.
Alfie Devine.
Alfie Devine.
Divine,
Yeah.
rather. And he's looking very, very good. He really does look a very complete player. And he's still only... I don't think he's 18 yet.
I think he's 20 now. I'm not sure. But he's...
Hang on, I'm going to Google that.
Have a check him. But no, he's definitely developed very well in his time away at Plymouth. I don't know if you watched the under-21s match against Chelsea, but he was probably one of the better looking players on the pitch. Certainly looked to be playing the more mature game. Phillips
19.
also 19. There you go. So
Yeah.
Phillips as well is another player that looks like he's really benefited from that time away, and I believe Plymouth want them both back for next season. And considering the growth they've shown, I would be tempted to let them both go back and see if something can be built there.
I agree with you there, Stuart. I think that the it's great talking about young players, and there's clearly very many that we've spoken about this before. I just don't think Postecoglou has right now that latitude to be able to play young players, or even really, think about them as even viable substitutes in the team that he will field in August against United.
Yeah, no, because Charlie, that showed up in the game against Sheffield. I mean, we're 3-0 up and cruising, and he didn't bring on any of the youngsters until 2 minutes before the end. And I was frustrated, but I completely understand it because he's got one thing to do, which is to make sure, we get at least a point from that match.
Yeah.
So I'm not criticizing him for it, but that just kind of really puts under a microscope how much pressure he's under and how much he just can't take the risk.
Well, take a look at Klopp. Just look at Klopp's timeline again. Like it was only after about 4 or 5 years he even started to consider bringing in youth players, I think, or genuine youth players who are like Elliott and Jones and whatnot, who were kind of shots. And I never rated either of those two players, and you can just see with 2 seasons how good they're getting. Elliott's very, very good. Jones is accomplished, so they do need that time, but we haven't got that time to give them.
Yeah, that Trent Alexander-Arnold guy is not too bad either. So yeah,
but
one thing I did.
But let's get some really good loans for them, because I think there's some. I mean, I might be right, because I think it's so good, so easy for them to look amazingly good at that level, and then it just doesn't translate. But at the moment, there's 3 or 4 players at that level that look really promising. You don't know, maybe only 2 of them will make it, maybe only 1 of them will make it, but some of them look really good to me.
Do we have a Trent Alexander? Do we have a Trent Alexander in that? Who's your shot at that one? I think maybe we've asked this before, but what's the one player if you were to put your mortgage on it?
For me, it's
Donnelly.
Well, Donnelly, yeah.
Donnelly,
I was going to say Donnelly.
I think Donnelly too. Yeah.
I'd go Hall.
Oof.
Tyrese Hall. I think Tyrese Hall potentially has a more rounded game. He can play both ways, and he started adding some goals to his game as well, which is very nice to see.
I don't know how big he is.
I think both those guys are on the plane. By the way, I looked at it twice over. Romero is not on the plane.
Romero's not on the plane. Højbjerg's not on the plane. Yeah.
Well,
Romero, so I think very different reasons. I'm not
Romero
sure if there's a Copa America this summer, but there's some competition, isn't there? Yeah, so I think he's being given some time.
I'm not getting on the plane.
Yeah. Look, boss, I love you, but no, not happening.
Why?
Højbjerg probably mistimed his connection.
I would not be surprised if we got some kind of notification that Højbjerg's agreed to join name Italian club here. Yeah.
I thought he did really well against City.
Yeah, he did.
Apart from that punt right up in the air, that one slice which went all the way up there.
But one. I mean, I thought, I thought he did pretty well.
Can we judge? Can we give a grade for Ange for the whole season? That would be a good thing.
Yeah, I think we'll go through the players and the players that have come in, and certainly the new manager later on. I wanted to have a quick talk about this Manchester City wanting them to win thing. I was conflicted pretty much up until the day of the game. I absolutely did not want Arsenal to win. Absolutely did not want Arsenal to win. But when it came to the day of the game, I wanted Spurs to win that match against Man City. And it was kind of along the lines of, if you're going to be serious about trying to win things, then you go out and you try to win every game. And if you take your eyes off it once, then there's no excuse for not, you can't turn around and say, the manager can't turn around and say, oh, well, you took your eyes off the road that time, but don't do it again. Because it will happen again if you allow it to happen. And so I thought that Ange's approach was absolutely the right one. There's a game of football, we want to win it, and our fans should want that as well. I can see why he was upset. There's a saying that says, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And for me, we all need to come together and we all need to try and do that one thing, which is see our team winning trophies. And the players need to be doing that one thing, which is trying to get out there and win every single game. But at the same time, I was conflicted right up to the day of the game. And I can see why people who live in North London, people who go to the game, people who are there, and people who've got family that are Arsenal fans and friends that are Arsenal fans, and knowing they'd get the stick if they did something that helped Arsenal out, I can see why they would be on a slightly different opinion to me.
Can I join in at this point of time? I was furious with all those people who wanted Manchester City to win. I was furious with Jamie O'Hara wearing a City shirt. I was furious with people doing the Poznan during the game. And celebrating
okay,
City
first swear of
goal.
the evening. I fucking hated that. When I saw them doing the Poznan in the stadium, I thought that is so fucking disrespectful to everything that they're trying to do. I hated that.
I'm going to throw in a caveat, because I never ever was conflicted about my desire for us to beat Man City. I don't care about Arsenal. However, up till 2 years ago, I lived in Islington, and I now live in Richmond in North Yorkshire. And so I now don't have the Arsenal fans in my face. So I care less about Arsenal than I ever did before. But when I lived in Islington, I probably have wanted to do everything I possibly could to stop Arsenal winning the title. However, as things stand in my space at the moment, I never ever wanted us to not try against City. I wanted us to beat City because I'm a Spurs fan. I wanted Spurs to finish as far up the league as I possibly could. And Arsenal can go and fuck themselves. Even if they won the Premiership, I don't care. I'm a Spurs fan. I want Spurs to do well.
Yeah.
My thoughts were very, I think Ange was kind of emotionally carried away, which is the first time we've seen it from him this season. He did not judge it very well, but he came back and he said later on, if you want a side to not win a trophy, you go and win that trophy. You don't want a team to win the FA Cup, you go and win the FA Cup. You don't want a team to win the Premier League, you go and win the Premier League. We can't think about what's going to happen 6, 7, 8 games from now. We need to think about the game that's in front of us and try and play and win that game. So, in reality, if Arsenal wanted to win the title, then they fucking well should have beaten Aston Villa. They played them twice and gave up 6 points. And then we'd be in Champions League as well. So there would be absolutely no question about it. They'd have won the league, but a cancer, we'd be in Champions League right now.
They've won the league anyway.
This is the other thing that really kind of annoys me is I think it's October, Manchester City are going to have their day in court, or probably 2 months in court. And there's a really good chance that title's going to be stripped from them.
Wow.
Along with several others.
It has to be, which is why I kind of just thought, well, we should go and try and win any match we can win, because in any case, City are going to have it stripped, and Arsenal have won it anyway. If they finish first or second, they've won the league. And in any case, they've morally won the league because the first place team is a bunch of fucking cheats. So
Ash, any thoughts on this?
I'm with you guys who wanted us to win. I didn't want Arsenal to win.
Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of a moot point because I just thought, well, City are going to beat us anyway. So,
yeah, that's also true, yeah.
So really can't be that conflicted. But
Charlie looks really unhappy.
What's that?
Charlie looks really unhappy. Charlie looks like that statement hurt.
I think there were lots of statements he didn't like that have just been
little raises, little paper cuts on my.
Always want us to win. There was one thing, I don't know if you guys, I think after the game, or maybe just before the game, Ange said something that he had underestimated. I don't know if he actually used the word animosity between the North London teams. He had underestimated, which seems kind of surprising considering he was in Glasgow with those two teams up there.
True.
Did you guys catch that? And what do you think?
It was interesting. He did bring up that, I've been in, I've been in, Scotland, and I've experienced the Old Firm. And well, ask Gary Neville. He'll tell you what the best rivalry is in British football, and that's Spurs versus Arsenal. We can't underestimate that. I grew up in Leicester. I can't underestimate what it's like to grow up within pissing distance of your sworn enemy. And I grew up mostly, the good Spurs teams of the Poch era. It was a Chelsea thing. Chelsea is the one that I really despise. And it's down to me to have that animosity. And if it was Chelsea that we were going to give the title to, it may be a bit different for me. But again, I can't judge personally, and so therefore I can only say what I want in the game. And I don't have it in my makeup to anti-cheer my own players who I am they're like brothers to me. When I shed a tear when I see the camera panning past them during big games. I love these guys. I can't wish for bad thing to happen just to deny somebody something else. And I think it speaks to a wider issue that if Arsenal had won the league, it would have had a knock-on effect to everybody at Spurs. Obviously, one way or another, we would be having a different conversation right now, and ultimately, we would be trying to garner some kind of silver lining in the fact that Arsenal won the league, which would have been some kind of evolution. of our present state of what I've seen over the past, what Ange saw over the past 48 hours, which he was talking directly to this psychological condition of Spursiness, is what he was talking about. I believe when he said, I've seen stuff over the last 48 hours that have made me change my mind about things, but I will have to adapt in order to move forward. He was very, very upset. It harked back to Conte and Mourinho, certain quotes that they had made on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, my heart started beating out my chest. And I thought, oh shit, is he going to quit on us because he's seen within one season what Conte and Mourinho saw? Is he going to give up on us because of this Spursiness that I feel was at its finest during that time? And that is all these fans who have grown up in Arsenal's, radius notwithstanding. I believe that he saw in Spurs that fragility that he cannot walk back on. He's seen a fragility, and it was evident there. He's seen more in that loss than he would see in 7 wins at the end of this season. And that's my worry. And if he is recommitted to us, Ange, and he's like, I don't care, I'm going to bring this team up and we're going to win stuff, which is kind of what he said in the past few interviews, then right. But doesn't mean that Spursiness has gone away.
Yeah, we talked about the fragile psyche of many Spurs fans. We've seen it as we've started to lose some games, some people's opinions on things have just fractured, and you can see them just going, oh, here we go again. And, the old complaints seem to come out. And if we're going to move on, you've got to let that stuff go. If we're going to move on, if we're going to be a better club, you've got to let that stuff go, and you've got to get behind the club, behind the team, behind the players, even to a certain extent behind the chairman, and give him the opportunity to continue to do the work that he has been doing and continue to build, because he still wants to build extra things at the club. It's not over yet. I think now, though, he's taken a step back from the football side of things. He's brought in Scott Munn, he's brought in Langer. These are the guys who now will be running the football side of things, and that's what they're going to be responsible for, and he'll be responsible for building the new hotel on the side. So,
Stu, I just want to go one step further and say I was gutted that Son missed that chance. Gutted. And I think that honestly, Son will look back at that and go, he had the chance to change the course of something massive in that miss. And not to say that Man City wouldn't have gone up the other end and, had a disallowed VAR goal, and we would have all, had our hearts in our mouths, again. But at the same time, we have to evolve through this. We can't just go, oh, great, we've denied them for another season, back to normal. We need to face ourselves as Spurs fans and go, why do we continue to embrace a degree of mediocrity quietly and unconsciously that managers as good as Ange, and he is almost too good for us in many ways, and we've got to bring ourselves up.
That's
to
really
him.
Spursy, Charlie. I'm not even joking, because I heard that about Conte. I heard that about Mourinho. No one's too fucking good for us. I completely agree with everything else you said, though. But I just don't want to hear anyone saying a manager's too good for us.
Did I lose in the last minute?
Yeah, it was just you threw the ball into your own net.
In terms of that Son chance, the thing we've seen from Son when he goes through one-on-one is he hits the ball early before the goalkeeper set himself, which can mean that accuracy is sometimes a little bit of accuracy is given up for hitting that ball early. And the thing was, their goalkeeper Ortega, he got down so quickly, he got to the position and he knew what was going to happen, and it was a really good save.
It's a great save, yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed the match. I was really disappointed to see us lose. I did think it was a penalty. The penalty that was given against us, I thought that was a penalty. I'd have been upset if that had been the other way around and hadn't been given to us.
Well, it wouldn't have been given the other way around.
Well, probably not, but
But I totally agree with you, Stuart. Like Austin, my first thing, like in the pub, when I saw that, I went, "That's never." No, that was Sheffield. I was at home. I went, "That's never a penalty." And then I saw it and I kind of, "Oh yeah, it was." Totally clipped him. Totally.
But yeah, let's. I mean, the reason we didn't do a video, a podcast, was because after the game, I was like, yeah, nothing to talk about here, nothing to celebrate, nothing to really commiserate. And then Potts just blew his fucking mot up. He was so unhappy. Charlie was like, "Are you sure, Stu?"
I think it's Post.
Sorry,
mate,
Posty. Yeah, Postecoglou. Yeah, Postecoglou blew his absolute ever-loving mind. So
well,
yeah,
you know, he got it wrong, but I love it that he's got that what's the word, like vim in him, that
the
he's
vim
got
and
that
vigor. Yeah.
David, what he said was right according to him.
Yeah, it was.
So he got it right, and it fell in the face of other people who felt they were right. You know, not to tangle the situation up, but he said what he said, and granted, you know, I don't think he measures his words too much. He said what he felt, and he was insulted by what went on in that stadium.
Yeah.
I think if you know, he was in that moment. I thought he was going to flip the table and tell us to piss off.
Yeah.
Charlie, are you saying that an Australian potentially lacked a touch of diplomacy? Is that what you're saying? Because it would not be the first time.
I think he was probably quite shocked by the reaction, like straight afterwards and the next day, and he had to walk it back, and I'm glad he did, because
I think he walked it back extremely well.
Yeah, he did
extremely well.
It needed to be done because things were getting a bit nasty, and you know, you could start seeing fans. You know, it was reminding me of the old, when would it have been, Harry Redknapp days? You know, people that were for Harry, people that were against him, and people just kicking chunks out of each other amongst supporters, and it was really weird. I don't want to see that around Ange if we can avoid it, and I think he did well to walk it back. And you know, it's a stupid situation; it will probably never happen again. And I think,
let's hope not.
And I think everybody got caught up in a press manipulation, which you know, so you know, and like I said, in any case, as far as I'm concerned, Arsenal's won the league, so forget it.
Okay. In terms of the inside, outside the club thing, outside the club, I get the fans, their reaction, the way the press were talking. Inside the club, there are unofficial, unsubstantiated reports that there was jokes going around inside the club about maybe playing youth team stuff, and apparently somebody made a joke. A member of the support team, is the story, made a joke directly to Ange saying, "Oh yeah, we should let them win," and Ange did not take it well. Anybody else the opinion that if that is true, that person will be searching for a new job very soon?
Hopefully now.
Well, I think people are allowed to make mistakes.
He would probably.
Club culture speaks to club culture, right?
Yeah, exactly. And let's be honest, if you're working for a decent company and you've got a decent record, you'll find another job. But if you're working in a situation like a football club, you have to absolutely be on the same page as the guy at the top. You have to be.
Well, in business, you say if you fire someone for making a mistake, then you're selling that experience to your competitor.
But someone from the catering team, maybe it's not that important.
I think
I just can't imagine. I mean, you look back through great teams who have really had a solid, you know, down to the dressing room. You would just going into a dressing room with a Roy Keane or an Alex Ferguson, Cantona's in there, and everything. You would imagine that you would be on your best behavior at times like this to really measure what you say, because if something gets said, it goes through the rumor mill differently back then, and it would get eked out, and that person would be singled out as a crack and a crack in the foundations. And I just I'm not surprised it's happened, because in this day and age, everybody has an opinion. Everyone's on social media saying what they want, but ultimately it harps back to club culture. And I think Ange's anger is that he's just got a shitload of work to do.
He's got a lot of work to do. Yeah.
Yeah, he really has.
Okay, so let's take a look at the players that have been purchased. Let's have a look at the managers. Let's have a look over the season, and let's see whether we've actually come out significantly ahead. I'm very much of the opinion that we have. So let's go through it. We'll start right at the back. Vicario. How do we think Vicario has done over the season?
I think
Fantastic.
What?
He's saved us more goals than I can think of.
Absolutely.
And the goals we've conceded where he's been criticised, it's because he's being fouled. Simple as. Centre half, attacking players sitting on your goalkeeper with no intention of playing the ball and pushing him, that's a foul. And people saying that Vicario should be stronger, it's bollocks. He's being fouled, full stop.
Yeah,
Austin,
on my stream against Sheffield United, when he was pushing people around,
he was pushing them down.
He was pushing them around, and the commentators on my stream were saying, "Oh, he shouldn't be doing that. He's lost his edge. He's lost his head. He doesn't know what he's doing." This guy, how is the guy supposed to win here? But yeah, massive bonus for me. I think I really liked Hugo. I thought he was an excellent keeper for us for many years. I thought it was the right time to move on. Probably could have done it a year sooner. But to bring in a player with this level, this ability to compete and play the way he has, I think we've done extremely well at the money we paid.
I think there's a lot of positives. I think I like the fact that he can play the ball. I like the fact that he can actually play up as almost as a sweeper. I like his shot stopping, and I was worried because there were a lot of videos when he signed showing him pushing the ball out into danger areas. It did happen once or twice, but generally doesn't seem to be a problem. That's been fine. His shot stopping's been great. I'm going to talk bollocks, according to Austin. He needs to be stronger on corners because he's not getting the protection he needs, so we can't keep shipping goals. Right or wrong, they're getting away with it, and so he needs to find an answer to it. I'm happy to note that I think in the last 4 or maybe even 5 matches we didn't concede from any set pieces, did we? Not against Liverpool, not against Burnley, not against Sheffield Wednesday, not against Manchester City. So I think we went 4 matches with no set piece goals, and I did see improvements in those last games. So I hope he can bulk up and he was dealing with it. He was pushing people around in Burnley, so hopefully he's getting to grips with it. I'm generally really happy with him. I just have that little doubt that whether he can be strong enough.
I'm not sure he's going to bulk up much at 26 years old, but yeah, we'll see. Ash, what are your thoughts?
Dragishin was helping in that last Sheffield United game.
Yeah.
He was standing in front of it, and he was pushing those guys. I'm going, why didn't they do that before? So obviously it's a thing is being addressed. Great. I love the guy. I think he's a leader. I love his passion. That one of the games, I don't know which game, where we scored, because poor goalkeepers are all by themselves. He just does this 40-yard run and then slides for about 40 yards on his knees, to celebrate. I'm going, wow, there's a guy who's a yiddo. I mean, he already
is a yid. I would have signed in blood, he said.
Yeah, that was good to hear.
I will add to this. It's his first season in the Premier League, most physical league in the world. He will make his biggest weakness his strength now that everybody's aware of it, and we've been through the press mill about how bad we are, and the
not just me then. Ange. Let's stick with Ange. It's easier.
That he had to address that as well, and I think everybody will address that again. Back to the Man City thing, I don't think they were great at the start of defensively. I think that it took a lot of time for them to evolve. But I will say I think Vicario. I will say this as well. Him and Romero are as nuts as each other, which is wonderful to see. There's been moments where they've grabbed each other in celebration, and that you just don't know whether they're going to kiss or headbutt each other. And fortunately, neither. But the best thing is that when we were down to 9 players against Chelsea, you saw an instinctive goalkeeping performance that was hands down the best goalkeeping performance of the year by any goalkeeper for any club that I've seen. And you won't better it. He was just an animal. He was unleashed.
Yeah,
I haven't seen better this season.
Really good point. And how much did he cost? He was like a bargain, right? That's also
16 mil, I think.
Right. It's also about bringing
18.5 million euros, apparently.
He paid it himself, apparently.
Okay, moving on. Not really, well, kind of a signing for this window, well, for this summer.
10 out of 10.
But it's a finalised Pedro
10 out of
Porro.
10.
Are we happy with Pedro?
Oh yeah, but then the next guy.
Yeah, we're moving on.
Porro,
I don't think we're going to give numbers. We can if you want, but okay, let's give a score. Vicario, a solid 8.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't do fractions at 8. I'm such an idiot.
Austin, any thoughts on Vicario, and what's your score for out of 10 for his signing?
8.
8. Ash, what's
Yeah,
your score?
He doesn't do
absolutely
fractions
excellent.
either.
And it's his first year in the UK. I think he's been brilliant.
Yeah,
Ash?
I'd give an 8. I'd give an 8.5. Sorry, Dave.
No fractions.
Charlie?
Well, assuming you can give 10s, I mean, for a goalkeeper, that would be really, really good. It's got to be an 8, so there's room for improvement. But, you know, not incredible amounts for improvement. Don't give him that much. He's a goalkeeper at the end of the day. Going to let in goals.
Okay. As a transfer that was finalised over the summer, Pedro Porro had been with us already for 6 months, but actually fully signed on the dotted line, became fully Spurs. I've got really no complaints. I think he had a really solid season, been one of our better attacking outlets. I would go so far as give him a 9.
Wow. He's a bit dodgy on defense. He still is.
He's stepped up massively in defense. He's looked very good.
Yeah, but 9?
Yeah.
Listen,
for the role that we want him to play, he's been superb.
He hits the ball
and chipped in with some excellent goals. Another really good goal at the weekend.
Barry's not going to be happy with you. He wants him gone.
Oh well.
Placed by...
Can I just say Barry Mead is banned. Barry is the most negative person on the planet.
I love causing trouble.
Particularly about defenders. Anyone that's classed as a defender, Barry automatically goes to his default, which is not good enough. I don't like him. So, we don't bring Barry Mead into conversations about defenders.
Barry, if you're watching this, thank you very much for watching.
Thanks for your time. Thank you for your service. Can you tell us what you thought of Ledley King?
I'm really positive about Porro.
Wasn't good enough, King.
It's true. Porro did really well. Chipped in with 4 goals, and I think there's more goals in him. I'd like him to do better with his crossing. I'd like him to cross first time instead of taking that touch and getting closed down. I felt like he went off the boil sort of like from middle of the season up until a couple of games ago. So I'm going to give him 7.5. I'm just trolling you now. I'm going to give him 7. But
Austin, what's your score?
I think it's great.
What your thoughts?
Pedro.
What's your score? Yeah,
I'd
Pedro.
give him an 8 as well. I just think there's something about him, and I think we're yet to see the best of him. I think he's going to be an absolutely awesome player for us in the next year or 2 years.
Yeah, he's 23 years old. You forget how young he is, really.
I know.
And I really thought he was going to be a problem in defence. Like when we played those pre-season matches,
I was so worried.
And he was persistently getting caught out on the back post. I just thought this was going to be a nightmare, and he really stepped it up. I was really impressed with him. He did really well. I just feel like there was about a 10-15 match period where I just didn't feel like he was at that level to get the 9 that you want to give him, Stu. So I'm knocking him off down to a 7.
Fair enough. Charlie, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think in a spate of goals that have been celebrated with badge pointing, I think that Porro is one of the biggest badge pointers I've seen, and just for that and his fully come on you Spurs attitude, I'm just going to give him a high 7, because I know he's better than what he is, and I think he's shown in the past few weeks that when he does, he's found his range. And to be fair, it took him 30 games, but he's finding his range with some absolute belters, and his confidence.
Shots, yeah.
He doesn't really. He's like Jermaine Defoe, but right back. I mean, he doesn't really dink them, does he?
No backlift.
He's fantastic. I mean, I don't know. And he's basically playing in midfield. He's going to score more goals. He could be our He could be our João Cancelo after a couple of seasons. You never know.
And his corners are brilliant. When he's on the ball, his corners are absolutely superb.
Yeah, we don't score though.
Yeah, but I prefer it when Porro's taking
We
the
don't do
corners to
corners.
Maddison.
We don't do corners. Exactly.
Yeah.
I
like
prefer
Ash, what are
Porro's
your
corners.
thoughts on Porro and what's your score for him?
I think his what's the word? Upscale is great, or upswing. I don't know what the word is. The
Upgrade?
potential is great. I love the guy, the way
Upside.
he does chest bumps
Upside.
with Romero.
Yeah, but Ash, he's not Welsh.
He isn't. Sorry.
He's
We
not
only signed
Welsh.
one Welshman.
It's
In the summer.
Austin. It's Pedrag Porro.
Pedrag
Got
Boyo.
rollers
Porro.
as Porro.
Pedrag Boyo.
Very good.
Pedro
Pedrag Boyo.
yeah.
Boyo Porro. Boyo Porro. That's what his name is. I love his celebrations. He's committed. Love all of that. Great upside. And those goals, man, they are belters. Have you ever seen anybody hit the ball so hard as him? He almost takes the net off. The goalkeepers
Huddleston.
don't move.
Victor Wanyama.
I'll give him a 7-5.
Yeah, when it comes to ball striking, I hadn't realised it before, but Charlie's right. Defoe is it's very much in the Defoe school of hit it as hard as you can and see if you can whack the lever off it. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know if you're going to be jumping in. Have you got any ideas, any thoughts on Pedrag Boyle?
Yeah, I'll give him a 7, and it's not a criticism. And I thought he was great this season, but he's got huge potential. I can't give him higher than that because I think you're going to see a whole lot more from him. His one-on-one defending improved. There were a few moments of positionally, but all in all, solid. Getting forward, great cross. Improved on the defense, and it couldn't have been easy with the makeshift defense all the time for somebody who's trying to improve in that area, having different people all the time. I think we'll find the right balance that will make him look better as well. Right now, it's both wing backs bomb forward, and in the last few games, he's looked better because maybe Van de Ven stayed back a bit, and that's given him a bit of freedom to bomb on. I love Pedro Porro. I'm so happy that signing turned out to be a good one. I remember when we splashed the cash on him, everybody was like, "This better be the guy." Yeah, he is him.
Yeah, he certainly proved me wrong. I was very much doubting him when he signed up. And when he played against us for Sporting, he was magnificent. But when he signed, even on loan, I was like, this guy is not going to be a Premier League right back. And he's definitely proven me wrong. So, and now I'm giving him the highest score of the evening. So, clearly he's won me over. Let's move on. You just mentioned him, Mickey van der Ven. Signing of the season for me.
Signing of the season.
9.5, I'm going. He's got to have
10.
some room for improvement. No, he's got to have some room for improvement. You can't
Oh,
give him a 10.
he's gonna get 12 out of 10. That's what he's gonna get. 12 out of 10. That's his improvement. Unbelievable. Great upside on him too. Another Spurs kiss the badge, all that stuff. Lovely guy. I think Austin mentioned that in one of the videos. Lovely guy. Can score goals. Oh man, he's fantastic. I look forward to seeing him play in Europe against these other teams. All right, so I'll give him a 9.5.
Charlie, you look like you want to jump in?
Well, there's a downside to the Mickey van der Ven thing, and it sort of created this, as I said in the last podcast, it's created this Harry Kane situation where you now absolutely have to, you can't waste talent like that. You can't waste we wasted Harry Kane in many ways. Those two Baron transfer windows were criminal, and we should have put a team around him that helped him, really achieve what he deserved at Spurs. My bigger fear around the centre backs is if we don't step up, and I've heard some transfer rumours today, especially where they're like Callum Hudson-Odoi, and I'm like, that's not going to get us what Mickey van der Ven and Romero need in order to believe that Spurs have a project, because Mickey van der Ven will be the next Romero. Romero for me is I read what he wrote on Twitter the other day. I read that he's, fully come on you Spurs, but there's no way that that player is not being earmarked as a potential Real Madrid, Barcelona, whoever, big club player. He has that mentality, elite mentality. He's a World Cup winner. Mickey van de Ven next to him can only mean great things for Spurs. So we have to level up. So I'm going to give him a 9 because I am really excited to see what he brings to Spurs next year. I can't imagine that he's going to take the foot off the pedal at all. He's been brilliant, just fantastic to have that kind of talent. And if Postecoglou chose him, it just goes to show, which he has relentlessly said. Because if I can buy a Vicky van de Ven, then do I need Champions League football? Then it says a lot about Postecoglou's ability to spot talent, and let's just hope that summer's full of Mickey van de Vens.
Yes, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, if we can buy one Mickey van de Ven level player each summer, we'll be doing very, very well. Austin.
Van de Ven, in my book, has been absolute tops. I'd give him 9.5. Is also, like Porro, he hits the ball so bloody hard. And that goal he scored from the edge of the box was absolutely phenomenal. I would watch that every day of the week. His pace is fantastic. His dribbling is very good. He turns and he beats players. He's just a legend waiting to happen.
Yep. David?
Absolutely love him. Can't believe he's ours. So glad he's ours. Saw that video of the interview after the Burnley match? After the Sheffield United match. Seems like an absolutely fantastic lad as well.
Yeah.
Was it you, Austin, that posted that? I can't remember who it was.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a great video. Made me like him even more. I'm giving him 9. Weak in the air. Doesn't defend his goalkeeper enough. He'll learn that. He's young.
I can see it. You just want to score him down so nobody comes in to try and buy him. That's what it is. All right, A, what do you think?
Yeah, he's an outstanding footballer. He's a total football sort of defender, isn't he?
Yeah, total football. I was thinking total football earlier when Charlie, you were talking about the defenders moving up into midfield and stuff. We're moving.
He can do everything.
Yeah, because QT can as well.
Yeah, I like Charlie's point. It's my biggest fear that I think anybody watching would earmark Romero for ball playing centre back. I think Mickey's a bit early to watch him. But we don't have much time with them if we don't do anything significant. I think David got it right, though. If there's one thing that you can ask him to improve on, is his stuff in there. He's a big guy, and he's athletic, and he's strong, and he's fast. But he doesn't jump, and he doesn't time his jump. And it's just it's a practice thing. It'll come. So. Yeah, get some NBA guys to be on him in the holiday.
White guys can't jump.
Well, they're going to be in Australia, so they can look at some of the AFL guys.
And, let's move on to a white guy that certainly can jump. Radu Dragusin, that guy can jump, that guy can head a ball. Very difficult to give him a score. He's had very little chance to impress. I'd give him a 7 for what he's done, but overall, I can't really go much higher than a 6, I think. And that's not really being harsh.
What feelings do you get around in those, Stu? What's the feeling around Dragusin? How do you feel about him? I got feelings about him.
Like him?
Okay.
I got feelings.
Charlie, I would keep that to yourself, Charlie.
Sun newspaper tomorrow.
What do I think?
My feelings on Dragusin is I think he is a potential QT Romero replacement. I think we've done our buying early. If somebody comes in and pays the kind of money that it would take to take Romero away from us, he would slip in very, very nicely and fill that slot. He needs to work on his playing the ball out from the back, but he's quick. He's pretty damn strong in the air. One thing I noticed from when he was playing in Italy, people fall over around him a lot because he is just so strong. And he takes charge of a situation. That's one thing I really did like in the Sheffield United game. He absolutely took charge of everything going on around him. And he's potentially a very, very, very important player for us if he sticks around. So,
and he took the ball forward really well. There's a couple of times he played 1-2s with, I think, whoever was on the left, and he took it forward. He had no problems taking that ball forward. He's a flat track bully, that guy. People, like you said, people around him just fall over. He's going to really love the Premier League because people play most of the game on their knees or rolling around on the floor, which is hilarious. Dragusin, I think, is an absolute winner, and I think if we can incorporate the three of them, it will be to our benefit. One way or another, if they can all play across the back four or even into six with Romero. I just think it has the hallmarks of a great foundations for what comes in front of it.
Really good point there, Charlie. Good point.
What's your score, though, for the season, Charlie?
Oh, I mean, I'm not going to even... I mean, it's not fair on him. He's
really difficult, isn't it?
9.5. He's a 9.5 player. Like, you never want to give a 10 because then where does he go from there? But, Foden's a 10 because he's won 6 championships to 17. Like, how do you get any better than that? But like, no, Dragusin is he's a diamond. I think we'll hang on to him, and I think we'll make him happy.
Anyone else got thoughts or feelings?
Yeah. I think he had a difficult debut because his passing radar was way off, and I didn't think his debut was very good. And I really think he's shown over the last couple of matches that he's much better than that. I think Charlie pointed that out, that at least one of those runs forward against Sheffield United was sensational. Really powerful run. Really made himself a real problem for them. Strong in the air, defends his goalkeeper.
Yes.
No, I think he's a good 7 because, like you say, it's kind of a default. Also, I think he was really good the last couple of matches, and I thought he was really quite poor in the first match. But it was his first match, so it's totally unfair.
I like the look of him. I think he's going to be an absolute beast. I'd give him 7 purely and simply because he hasn't been able to show that he's better than that. But my gut feeling, just looking at the way he plays, he's committed, he's hard, he's strong. There was a video going back a couple of months of him in the gym with
Richarlison.
And Richarlison was just saying how strong he is. He's strong and he's obviously got talent. So I'm actually quite excited about Dragusin.
Got feelings for him too.
No, I've got feelings for Charlie, but not Dragusin.
Okay, what are your thoughts? Is this a May to September love relationship coming on here? Sorry, go on.
He's promising, isn't he? There's nothing much to be said. We only had 2 games to look at him. I know I'm excluding the first game. He's kind of thrown in and new system, new people. And I think in the first game, a lot of people had a problem with his passing. But you can see that it's probably been worked on since he's been out of the team. They identified it because he was moving the ball a lot quicker down the left. And the last game, he couldn't do that. And maybe that's also to do with Van der Ven hanging back a bit more, whereas Udogie was, making strides down that wing, and probably presented him with a lot more difficult paths for somebody to do on their debut. So I think 7's a fair. I like him. I like a mean defender, like a guy who gets in the way, not afraid to put himself about, because it also, with the likes of Romero and Dragusin and Bentancur, you're not going to get bullied by too many teams. We have the opposite problem. We might lose our head and go too far. And that's very different from a lot of the Spurs teams. Obviously, If we can rein that in, it's going to just bode well for us. I really like him. Can you imagine how Conte would have been over the moon if he had his three centre backs as Van der Ven on the left, Romero in the centre, and Dragusin on the right?
It still wouldn't have been enough centre backs for Conte. You think you'd have wanted another 5, 6?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Well, he might have played. He might have played QT Romero at the 6 then. So.
Yeah,
Charlie
I don't like that.
Thank you very much. We'll get to see Dragusin play for Romania in the Euros. So I think his stock will only rise over the summer. Him and Van der Ven. There's not that many Spurs players playing up. I don't think really at the Euros. So it'd be great to keep an eye on him. So I think his stock will rise. He may demand at that point that that we figure it out. He's just the sort of player you want in your team. I mean, they're all just like so imperious. Van der Ven, Romero, and Dragusin, they're just big people. They look like they've got big energies about them.
And I think that.
Bear in mind, we're coming to
like,
Brennan Johnson later. Just keep that in mind. Ashley, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with all of you guys. Actually, I was going to ask you, since you know, Stu, what is that Romanian sort of personality? Is there a us against the world type thing, or what is there a personality to Romanians?
It would be very, very difficult to say. Like any country in the world, there's a massive variation of people around. From what I understand of him, he is extremely single-minded. He does come from the same city as my wife, so if that's true, then he'll be ambitious, single-minded, determined. And
lovable, Stuart. Lovable is maybe seen by your wife. Lovable.
Yeah.
Got the same head.
You missed that opportunity, Stu.
Got the same haircut as your wife as well, hasn't he?
No. My wife does not have a top knot. No. Okay. I think we'll skip giving a score on that one because it's so difficult to call. Yeah. Let's move on. Dejan Kulusevski, again, another one that signed finally on the line. I'm going to give him a 7.5. I think he's been excellent at times. I think he's had a good season. He's not had his best season. I think there's a lot more to come from him, which is why I'm scoring him somewhat low.
Really hard.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Charlie. You go for it.
Massive long silence there, but I guess the silence speaks volumes there in the sense that he came into a team that was struggling with Bentancur, and the two of them got us into Europe Champions League almost single-handedly. His assists and his goals in that little spell, especially that assist for Harry Kane when we beat Man City, I believe that was in that period. It was fantastic. 4-3 at the end of it, was it? Something like that. It was great. That legendary commentary about it. In any case, he hasn't replicated that for some reason, and I know that it's not a mentality thing because I read this letter that he put on the he put out there. I don't know if you guys read that. It was actually very touching, but showed how driven he is. He's a fantastic player. Everyone knows that. Maybe he just doesn't quite know where he fits in, and it was just a little bit more obvious for Conte that he had that role on the right because Kane was in the middle. He obviously loves playing for Spurs. I don't think he's got eyes away from Spurs, but I think if Pep's already, like I said, Pep's looked to him. It's really hard to say. He gets a 7 for me because I know he's worth so much more, but it's only been in the last few games when he's been asked to step up into more of a leadership role where he's kind of sort of come to the fore and we've gone, oh, there's the Decky we know and love. 2 goals, one was a bit of a shinner, but he was there to take it and nobody else was. So yeah, I don't know. I'd still have him out on the right, but I'd like that fluid front four to be more Pep-like in that sense, and pre-Haaland. And I think 2 goals, could have had a hat trick.
Anyone else?
Got an 8.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much the same thing as Charlie. I think it's just that old adage that form is temporary and class is permanent.
Class is permanent.
He's an absolutely super classy player that's had some bad form this season, I think. And I do agree with Charlie that I think it's because he's not sure where he's supposed to be playing and what he's supposed to be doing anymore. And it kind of begs the question, like, does he have a place in Ange ball? Like, as good as he is, does he have a place? I would hate to see him go to Manchester City. So I almost want to keep him just for that reason. Quite interesting to see him playing, like, in that central striker position. Because he says he wants to play where Maddison plays. But I think when he's been given the opportunity, he hasn't really shown that he's good enough in that, slightly more withdrawn position. But further forwards, I think he's fantastic because he's so good at taking the ball and just bumbling past players, and you just can't get it off him. And he's got a great shot. And so, I'm going to give him 7. Again, because I just think he's a superb player, but I don't think he's been that much on good form this season. But I think there's reasons for it. I think we should keep him, but I think we need to find the right role for him.
What would you sell him for, David?
Well, it depends who. If it's to Manchester City at like 200 million, just because
Eddie likes playing in League Two.
True. With the Isle of Wight.
Where's the Man City links coming from? I haven't heard that. So
Pep once
Guardiola's a
said
fan, apparently.
he went, oof, that Kulusevski, oof.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But he was pretty penny with Romero as well after that. That was
didn't
more
like that.
striking.
Yeah.
Also,
Wouldn't
he's
be.
only 23. He's another one of those, but you just don't realise. You forget how young he is.
Yeah.
Porro's 23. He's 23. We've got some really young players in this squad. Austin, what are your thoughts?
I love him. I think he's a really, really good player. He has missed form at times, but I think there are 2 reasons why I really like him. One is he's got the ability to dribble. He receives the ball and he seems to be able to beat people just like that. And he looks clumsy, but he's not clumsy. He's actually very delicate in terms of his footwork. But he looks ungainly, but he isn't. And he does score goals. He seems absolutely committed. He's also Swedish, and when Bergvall comes in, I think he'll help Bergvall settle into the club. I'd give him 7.5, and I think he'll just continue to get better and better.
Mm-hmm. Ash,
I've actually
what are
got
your
to go, guys, because I've got to phone my dad back. I've had a message from him. So,
All right, Austin.
nice to talk to you all. Great season.
Thanks for coming. Lovely having you with us. We'll see you next time,
Occasionally, Stuart,
Cheers,
that's
buddy.
the problem.
Occasionally. No, it's always
Take
been
care.
great to have you with us.
Of course it has. Even doesn't mean to use the blooper machine to cut my swear words out.
And
Thanks,
my
mate.
fault.
We'll see you next time,
Take care,
yeah?
all. Have
Thanks.
a good one.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, Ashley, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, a 7. I agree with the other guys here. I think it will be important when Bergvall comes in. I think it'll help a lot. That's important that he's there. Got to find his position. I thought he was pretty good at that number 9, and he's got one hell of a shot. I wish he can use his right foot more. It was like Bale. Bale always uses left foot, but you see him shoot with his right foot. He's got a really good right foot shot. Just use it. It's like same thing with Decky. Use your right foot because you got one. And he scored a couple of goals with his right foot. So more to come, I hope.
Okay. A, did you give your score? I can't remember.
No, I didn't. The thing about Decky is our expectations are so high that in this crazy season with new football coach, new football philosophy, that you're already expecting so much from him, and he's so young, and you need to realize maybe that there's difficulties in readjusting. But I think the little bit of the criticism aimed at him is unfair, and it's tainted by just how high our expectations were of him. And I'd hate to lose Dejan Kulusevski. I think he's an excellent player. He must be a coach's dream. Dejan, I need you on the left. He's on the left. Madison's injured. Can you do a job in the middle? Does a job in the middle. We've got no striker this week. Go up front, scores 2 goals. Does anybody know how many assists he got this year? Because if you add any decent amount of assists to 8 goals, That's a pretty good season.
I think he got 8 goals in total, but 3 of those were against Sheffield United. So
One was the difference between 1 and 3 points. Yeah, so we'll take that.
Shows up against the big guns. It's nice to see.
Yeah.
I think when you look at Stu,
on.
1 second, just on this point, because I think it's important with Decky. Like, the idea of selling him is ridiculous, and I'm not saying that anybody said that. And I know I threw like an amount out at David, but he's the sort of player, when you look at the squad and you think about what can melt away from that squad, he is one of the last players you'd ever consider that was up for grabs in any. And I think if any other player in Tottenham saw Decky leave, I don't think that sends a good thing out. I just don't think there's any chance he's going to go.
Yeah, I just think my point is more we just need to find where to use them and how to use them.
Yeah.
Because I just think I think that's why he struggled this season. Is you're absolutely right. He got shuttled all around the pitch, but I think we need to figure out where his best place is and play him there. But
I think also from a
Go on,
squad point of view, we've got a lot of guys, Johnson's son, that are run in, cross, shoot. Decky brings something different, and every squad needs something different. And I don't think we have in the forward positions. It's just Madison and Kulusevski with those nice feet. Maybe Bentancur when he gets back up to speed, but nice feet, quick. When he's on it, when he's off form, it's pedestrian and stuff. But when he's on it, then it comes off and it looks magic. So I think for the whole squad, if we just look at how versatile he is, and we could find, like David says, find a way to use him better. He's a very, very important squad player. He might be a first team player, but for the squad, I definitely want to keep Decky around.
I think I said a couple of weeks ago I would sell him if somebody came in with a large offer, because I don't think he's been up to the level he has been in the past. But it would be with a heavy heart, because I really like the guy. So
I think he would up
80 million plus.
He will up his game as he's not somebody who's going to straggle. Like, as our game ups, he will rise to that, and he will return to that Conte era form, I think.
Yeah. Okay. We've got a few to rush through, I think, because they've barely played for us. Alejo Veliz. Can we give him a score at all?
No.
Oh,
I'm just confused about him a little bit. Like,
unfortunate loan, that really, wasn't it?
Awful loan.
So
yeah, as bad as Japhet Tanganga's loan for the first half of the season. He's barely played.
But you can call them back if you need them, right?
Well, he'd already played for 2 clubs, so there's no point calling him back now. Right. We couldn't send him on loan anywhere else, and he was unlikely to get in our side. So I think you could only call, because it's an international loan, you could only call him back during a transfer window.
Okay. Because it had a knock-on effect with the Dane Scarlett thing, and in general with our indecision at who's at number 9, and that can't happen. I mean, unless we're going to play a fluid front 5, which I would love. I mean, it'd be fantastic. I just don't think we've got the players for it. Then if you buy someone like he's a target man, big boy, and then you throw him out on loan, and then of course as soon as that happens, Richarlison goes basically 2 games in 5 months. It's just weird.
Okay, let's move on. Next one, Ashley Phillips came in from Plymouth. Very much a signing for the future. Played for the under-21s most of the season. Sorry, no, came in from Blackburn, went on loan to Plymouth. Had a good season on loan at Plymouth. Again, I don't think we can really give him a score. I can't. He's had no impact on the side. So exactly. Mana Solomon. Yeah.
The Levy signing on half, isn't it?
I think he probably fits the mould of an Ange type winger better than anybody, but he's just been injured since after 3 months. He's been injured. He's just been out ever since. So I couldn't give him more than a 3, honestly. He was patchy when he was playing, had a few good moments, but generally disappointed, and he's been out injured so long. Someone I would be happy to kind of get any money for at this point.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Anyone?
It was always. I mean, when we were talking about it on CADS, there's somebody, I think it was Andy. Andy said that he doesn't agree with me that it was just a buy and flip situation. I absolutely think it was. I guess we'll never really know, but we're never going to get a profit on him anymore because he's been badly injured. So he needs to go. So I just don't think that's the sort of player we want to be signing. Charlie, your refrain is this the sort of player that's going to get us in the top 4? No, he's not. So we shouldn't have signed him, and now we should let him go and get someone better in.
But he's kind of reminds me a little. This might be a little bit tough, but like kind of a Trossard-y kind of player. He's there when you need him, and he'll pitch in with a goal. He scored some bangers for Fulham last year, and I get it because he was on a free. He's just been injured. I don't think we can say much, and I'm not quite sure if he'll get shipped on. But just by the mere notion that he's been injured for so long, I think he got injured, then he got re-injured. That's just not. That's not a player you want in your squad if he's that prone to injuries. So.
I tell you, I wish we had Trossard.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
He's great.
Didn't we almost get him?
Timo Werner. How do we feel about Timo Werner?
Great pretender.
The great pretender?
Yeah.
We can do better.
We can do better.
We can do better. I mean, I think he could potentially be a useful squad player, but his wages apparently are not particularly small, so it would be £15 million in terms of transfer fee, which is small money nowadays, but his wages are around 175 grand a week touch, which is decent.
Not enough
at
end
this
product.
Point, his numbers are actually pretty good, I think, but I think overall that is absolutely a position we need to be looking to improve on. And if we're going to be improving it, you don't bring in another player, another one who take up a foreign place spot, to basically be a body and a squad option. You don't spend that kind of money off the wage bill to do that, I feel. So thanks for your time, Timo, but I don't think you'll be here next season.
I think we need a tricky winger, somebody with pace that can beat a man. And Timo has lots of pace, but he doesn't. If the defender is also quick, that's it. He doesn't seem to have anything else to go past him. I feel like he's missed a lot of sitters again. And if we're playing the system our wing forwards have to contribute with more goals, I think. And we spent investing in Johnson, who's probably similar to him at the moment in terms of a lot of assists and goals, but could have done better. I think we need, if we really want to improve this forward play of ours in the last third, we're going to need an improvement on Timo Werner.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I can't see any eventuality if Son will stay next year, that he doesn't play permanently on the left. Then where do you put Werner in? Werner he's a confidence player. When he's playing a string of matches, you'll see him turn up. But if he's coming off the bench, he's kind of an impact player, but he came off the bench a lot for Chelsea, did nothing. And I just can't see us wanting to pay 170,000 a week for a player that doesn't really tick many boxes, for that kind of player. So I'd much rather stick a young guy up there behind, or as an understudy to Son than keep Werner.
I think we're being linked to players like Rafinha at Barcelona. I think I'd rather have Rafinha in there than Werner. I think we're going to get more out of a player like that. That's not to say we'd get him, but
Rafinha.
So, Stu, is there anybody in the academy who could play on the left side to, basically back up Sonny? Santiago, does he play? I don't know. I don't watch. Santiago
plays left. Mikey Moore plays left. Jamie Donnelly's played both sides. So they're definitely...
tricky wingers, as somebody just said.
Santiago
They're
moves.
more likely to be third choice.
Yeah, they're more likely to be third choice due to their age and everything else that goes on. Santiago moves in a very similar way to Sonny, I believe. When I see him, I keep thinking, yeah, that's the kind of thing I expect to see from Sonny. But it's too soon for him. It's too soon for all of those players. I think we need to give them a chance at the right time, and I think dumping them into a side which is still finding its feet, which is still being worked on, it's too much to expect of a player who's that young.
And as Charlie says, Ange doesn't have the luxury of testing those players at this time in his time with us. I think that's absolutely true. It's what we saw against Sheffield United.
Okay, and all of that brings us on to the big signing of the summer, Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson, who, if you look at his stats in comparison to Sonny, actually stacks up in Sonny's first season, actually stacks up fairly well. But overall, I still come away feeling somewhat disappointed. I always feel like there's more to come from him. There's more that could be done.
What country is he from? I can't remember.
I believe he was born in Nottingham.
He's English. Okay. Yeah.
He's English, yeah.
Yeah.
He may have some parentage issues, which cause him,
issues.
But Ash, you got any idea where he's from?
No idea.
No.
Listen, when I grew up in Newport, this is before the whole Welsh thing. I didn't actually even study
Ash, are
Welsh.
you Welsh? I never knew.
Why didn't you ever mention it?
Yeah, nobody I knew spoke Welsh. So anyway, we thought we were in England when we lived in Newport because my mum was English. So anyway, by the way, what were the stats? Johnson's stats too?
Basically, a similar amount of goal and assists to Sonny in his first season.
10 assists.
Very similar.
I put something up on CAD's today.
What'd you say? What was it then?
It's Sonny played 40 games, got 8 goals and 5 assists, and Brennan played 33 games and got 5 goals and 9 assists. So in fewer games, a comparable goal contribution.
Well, the big difference there is that Sonny was definitely playing on the left that whole time, and Kane was through the middle. Whereas Johnson has played across the front three in a system that wasn't settled.
I think it's I was not convinced when we signed him, and I've gradually warmed to him, and I think that's actually a really solid first season. Actually, massive.
Yeah, the numbers are solid. The numbers point to a solid season. But again, I look at him, and going by what I see, I just think there's so much more to come, and it's almost come away feeling a bit disappointed that we haven't seen more.
That age, I think that's the first season.
And he's learning on the job. He didn't have a preseason.
True.
I think he did pretty well. The potential's there. There's tons of potential. He's got certain things you can't coach, which is a decent cross and tons of pace. He's also his positional play is excellent. Yes, he's missing some chances, and it frustrates me as well. But I think for a guy that young in his first season, I'm happy with Johnson. I'd give him a solid 7.5 for his contribution this year.
Yeah,
and I think there's lots more to come.
One thing I will say about Brennan Johnson is I really don't think he's being given the ball in the right way. It's so often to his back foot instead of giving the ball for him to run onto and actually put some pressure on the defence. We need to get that sorted out. We need to make sure we're feeding the ball into him the right way, and then we'll see more from him. Because his pace is a weapon. He is such a quick player.
He's been very similar in many ways to Decky, because I watched the highlight reel on the Forest highlight reel, and he was putting a lot of chances away. Forest played a very direct game. And a lot of the goals were quite similar. Our game is obviously very different, and I just think that people like Decky, people like Johnson, have suffered from trying to simultaneously remember how to play Ange ball or the system that Ange has set up, and at the same time play a creative and instinctive game, which is what's required of them to be, good goal scoring wingers. So I can only see that those two guys are both going to just get much, much better next year when we actually know what we're doing a little bit more.
I'd like to see us use his pace better and get him doing that inside-out run, come in off the right, run or almost cross the halfway line and then break forward. Nobody would catch him. And then, we got to look at putting him one-on-one like we do with Sonny. I don't think we're using his pace as effectively as we could. We're using it down the wing, and then he's got to cross, and we don't get too many guys in the box.
Yeah, and I think, as Stu said, we're always giving him the ball behind him. It's never in space in front of him, and that's also the problem that Decky has had. Decky's not a speed merchant like Brennan Johnson is, but if he's got any chance, then he needs to be receiving the ball, running onto it at pace, and it's always to feet or just behind. Well, always, frequently, and it's very frustrating.
It's something that you've seen the whole season that frustrates me, is the top teams, their passes buy them a lot of time because it's so accurate. It's to the right foot, it's in the right space. How often do we see our players having to check back to take a pass that should be on their good foot while they're looking forward into space? And it doesn't happen as often as it should. And I think that's only going to come with more time, as we get better with the system. But maybe that's something they're working on in the background, getting those first time passes a lot more accurate. Like we get it off, and it's generally, when things are going good to our player, but there's a percentage there that can be improved, definitely. I think we'll see a huge benefit from it.
Yeah, I would argue that our inability after the first 10 games of the season to pass through the lines and to instead favor this sort of like monotonous sort of passing it around at the back kind of, pre-Ange era stuff has affected our, the ability of our wingers and forward players to intuitively make runs and to receive the ball in such ways, because our midfield has been and defense has just been, a little bit safe, a little bit guarded, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a confidence thing, isn't it? I'm sure that they're playing it to feet because that way they know they've completed the pass. Perfect, but they've completed the pass.
It's definitely, and it's not only at the back, it's also at the front. And I will say something else is that in this league, if you're predictable, teams figure you out. And then what you're trying to do is more difficult to execute because they're expecting it. And what we noticed in the last few games, there's been a lot more shooting from outside the box. And that gives them a different problem because they don't fan out on that line defense anymore because there might be a shot coming in that sucks in the defender and then the pass goes out. So I think even if the shots are not bringing goals all the time, just the fact that we may take a shot and that it's in our game may force other defenses to operate differently. And then when we do pass it, like we do around the wings, it's going to give us a little bit more time, allow us to be a bit more effective.
It's interesting because one of the things that Ange has said in the past is he really hates passing without any real reason. He doesn't like the passing back and forth, just a bit aimless. He wants every pass to have, to take players out of the game, to do something. He wants players to do something. And there was one particular pass against Sheffield United where Sonny hit it with the outside of his foot, and you look at that and you go, that was quality. We should be seeing more of that kind of thing. And I think players have played within themselves this year for a lot of time, certainly after those first 10 games. And it just took a minute to see the quality that we can see. So hopefully we'll see more of that next season.
Haven't we forgotten a player?
We haven't forgotten a player, but we're coming to him. Don't worry.
Okay. You tease.
All right. Okay. So the last player that we're going to talk to before talking about the manager is a player who seems like he's been at the club longer than he really has to me. He fitted in so well, and then fitted into the physio's room so well for quite some time. James Maddison, how do we feel about him? I thought he had an excellent start to the season, but then he really struggled when everybody started picking up injuries in that Chelsea game, that period there. From that point on, I think he's been slightly better than average, but not much.
Yeah, I think you summed it up. 8.5 for the first part of the season, and then about a 6.5 for the rest of the season. So you give him a solid 7.5 for the end of the season. There's a lot more to come from him. I think it's not just the injury, it's the lack of confidence after it. It probably was a really bad injury. And you're only really seeing him come right at the end, maybe when we needed it a bit earlier. But I hope he gets a good preseason, and hopefully he can play a full season for us. That would be amazing. To see Maddison in full flow. The only concern I would say is that it's kind of similar to what happened at Leicester. The Leicester fans tell you the same thing. He's amazing for parts of the season, and then anonymous for other parts of the season. And we're a step up from Leicester, so hopefully he can step up as well, and we can cure him of that malaise. But wonderful player when he's on it.
Anyone else got any thoughts?
I think A just said it. I mean, really, in a nutshell, is what I think about. I still think, like, for example, I'm assuming Giovanni Lo Celso is going to leave. I would like us to sign somebody that, if possible, that is an upgrade on Maddison, because I don't think we can rely on Maddison for 40, 50 games in a season. I think we can rely on him for about 20. So I think we need someone that is as good or better, that threatens him with the bench at least. Fantastic start to the season. Good towards the end as well, actually. Last couple of games.
Yeah, last couple of games started to see the real James Maddison again, I think.
Way off it for about 20 games, 25 games, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
Injured or off it. And that's too much for such an important player.
Dave, why do you say only 20 games going forward?
I'm not doing. I don't have a spreadsheet in front of me. It's like the first 10 games, and he was good for the last couple of games, so 12.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you said looking forward. I'm wondering, because I know some other guys who did watch him before, and I didn't. A couple of guys have said he's always been overrated. I don't know enough about him from the past. Is that true? I mean, somebody just mentioned he started off on fire at Leicester and then sort of petered out. What's up with that? I don't know.
There's an issue. There's an issue with Maddison.
What's that?
I don't know. But there is. You can see it. I mean, I don't know. I can feel it. I've got feelings for Maddison as well as Dragusin. He's a sort of feeling player for me. I think our biggest problem player this year has been Giovanni Lo Celso. And I said this before. He's our problem player because he is a very, very good player who should have been able to stand in for Maddison or push him. I'm with David on this one, to push him forward, to push him to incentivize him. And Lo Celso, for whatever reason, must be a back. He's a good player. Everyone's seen him come on. He changes games. He has a different effect on the strikers. He's a lot more fluid, very creative with his passing, passes through the lines. Sat on the bench until the 88th minute most of the games. If not, he's injured. Must be an issue. Must be a personality issue. It has to be. There must be. So why have a player like that on our books? I have no idea. And I can't believe he's been with us for, I think someone told me 5 years. Was it 5 years he's been on our books?
4 or 5 years, yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Half of that time he's been out on loan.
Right,
Yeah,
but unbelievable time to wait for someone to come good. And to think we could have had Bruno Fernandes, who's the only player that some Manchester United fans and pundits would keep in that current crop. And that we, for whatever reason, Levy decided to pull that. pull that offer. The thing with Maddison for me is he shouldn't have been given vice captain. That was too much of an assumption that he would have an effect on the team as a leader. He came in, and I get it for Leicester. You're the best player in the team. The team relies upon you to step up in order for everybody to play and for the team to do well and be successful. That was his role for a long time. That's why he stood out at Leicester. He's one of those players when he goes to a bigger team that he fades away because he doesn't have that responsibility. He has been a weak player as far as I'm concerned. It's tough because when we do see him play and he's on it and you can tell he's playing intuitively, he affects games. There's no doubt about that, and he did at the start. But he is not, unfortunately, the player we're looking for at 10. He's not. He can't be. He won't win us the title, even though he won Leicester the title.
No, he wasn't playing with Leicester.
He didn't. He did not. I was wrong.
Oh, was he not?
No, he joined
that was
after.
weird.
I got it wrong. I got my hand slapped on that one.
He got relegated with Maddison. That's right.
That's right. Yeah, and they swapped him for Winks, who got them promoted. So, well done, Harry Winks. I look forward to seeing you in the Premier League next year.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, the last one we're going to be looking at and giving a score tonight.
I didn't finish.
Go on.
In the first 10 games, I thought he was the best player in the Premier League.
He was.
Yeah, and then just didn't see. Can he duplicate that? Perhaps not. Yeah, we definitely need somebody to push him. Definitely need somebody.
Do we think if Bentancur had been fit all season, then he could have been that guy to push in?
Yeah.
Potentially.
You're thinking about an Odegaard or a De Bruyne. I mean, that's the sort of levels we're talking about here. Like, is Bentancur that player? I don't think he is. Like, who do we want to be? Let's ask the question. Say again, David?
No, I don't think Bentancur is that type of player. I think he plays a bit deeper, and that's where he's more effective. We need someone else.
I think we are looking for someone else like that as well. So maybe we'll get him over the summer. Okay, last one. The last new arrival. Mr. Angelos Postecoglou.
Oh, no, you missed one.
No, we have not.
You have.
Who have
Big
we
one.
missed?
Huge.
Brennan, James Maddison, Pedro Porro, Mickey van der Ven, Kulusevski, Dragusin, Vicario, Feliz, Phillips, Manor Solomon, Timo Werner. That's it.
There's one missing. You're missing one.
Who is it
I'm
then,
not even going to
Charlie?
say it. I'm not even going to say it. Come
No, you're
on,
gonna have to.
guys.
Now. You're gonna have
Arguably
to.
our best player all season. Destiny Udogie did not play for us last year.
No, but Destiny Doggy was signed the season before.
But so was Decky.
No, Decky was on an
Oh,
18-month
He was made
loan.
permanent.
Oh, you got the technicality there. Okay.
But
all
we
right.
could
Yes,
give
see.
give Destiny a score. That'd be
Okay, yeah, let's give Destiny his first season at the club since joining us fully. I thought he started the season really well. It was really an integral part of those first 10 games where we looked fantastic. He, like Bissouma, he was picking up almost a booking a game, which was a bit of a worry. And he got a little bit ragged and got sent off, deservedly so, I thought. And I think maybe his confidence took a bit of a knock. I don't think we've seen those kind of runs. I don't think we've seen that kind of getting involved in the play. He's not been the same player since coming back after the Chelsea sending off. For me, very, very good player. I would give him an 8. I think there's so much to come from him in the future. I think another pre-season with Ange bedding him further into the system because he's still very, very young. But so much more to come. I would absolutely not sell him. For me, he would be one of my untouchables for the summer. Anyone else?
He's another player who's going to benefit from an Ange Ball 2.0, 3.0 when we really understand who we are, how we're going to play, identity of the team. You know, he hit a glass ceiling this year. It was his ability versus the Premier League without a structure underneath it. And we saw his ability to get forward, carry the ball, fantastic, really worked well, in that sort of inverted left back role. Yeah, great player. Again, one of those players who will be part of our team for hopefully years to come. And whilst everyone melts away, people like him are, stalwarts and onwards we go. So yeah, 8. 8's a good score.
He is the player of the season that I looked at on the pitch playing for us, and I went, how on earth did we get our hands on this guy? He is just that good. So beyond, I think potentially better than QT Romero, potentially better than Dragichin, better than Kulusevski. I think potentially he's the best player at the club.
Who is?
Destiny.
Destiny.
I think he's great. I'll sign up for the 8. Why not? I think he's got a high ceiling and he's nowhere near it yet. I would like him to get his head up when he's on the ball. So I don't think he does. I think he's sometimes a bit of a head down and just runs into blind alleys in that inside left, sort of inverted, whatever it is, position. So he's not finding his players often enough. So that's a shame. And I think he's has a slight, sometimes doesn't concentrate. That's all. But, he's, 7 years old? I mean, he's so young.
He's at least 12.
All this is going to come because outside of those 2 points that I've made, I just don't see anything bad about him at all. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's
Ashley,
a top player.
what do you think?
Young. Top player, very young, super high ceiling. He looks fantastic, and you can only imagine where he's going to go to. I think David highlighted his weaknesses pretty accurately, head down, and he has a problem with maybe getting the ball down the channel to his winger. I've seen that, but that's going to come with time. We had similar misgivings about Kyle Walker, and look how that turned out. So with the right coaching, world's his oyster. 8 is a solid score for him.
Ashley?
Yeah, high upside. Give him an 8. We'll love to see what he can contribute moving forward. Yep.
Okay. Right, moving on. The manager, Mr. Ange Postecoglou. Been a bit of a baptism of fire. We've had a very, very rough period in terms of suspensions and injuries. Things just not going his way much of the time. Some very bad luck. I think some awful refereeing this year. The last season we've seen some of the worst refereeing decisions that I can remember. And a lot of that has gone against us. We had one major decision go for us, and then after that it's just been one way. It's just been against us every single time. So
was it my imagination or did Sonny get punched in the stomach at Sheffield United? The referee
Sonny got punched in the stomach but went down holding his shin.
Yeah, okay, but he got a punch in the stomach.
He got punched in the stomach and the player got red carded.
And it was rescinded.
The player got red carded and then VAR said no, you need to look at that, and they walked it back. He got punched in the stomach. How did they? He should have gone down holding his stomach. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But
Should have cracked him back.
Well, apparently you're allowed to, so you might as well have.
Crack him.
Yeah.
Who cares?
No holds barred anyway now, because if
3-0 up.
if that's not a red card, then nothing is.
free hit. Yeah. Okay, how do we feel about Ange Postecoglou? I'm going to give him an 8.5 for the year. And I think the negatives for me, I think there still needs to be some tactical tinkering just to make sure that he's taking advantage of the spaces that are available to him on the pitch. We need to make sure that the player signings for the future give us the depth that we've very, very seriously lacked so far. And I just think he needs to take the cups more seriously. The cups this year have been a bit of a negative for me. I really thought we had a good chance of going for the FA Cup this year. I did say we'd finish 5th and go for the FA Cup. We finished 5th, but the FA Cup was a non-starter almost. So 8.5, but a really positive season. I like this manager more than any manager since Pochettino. And this guy plays the kind of football and prioritises the kind of football that I want to be watching my Spurs team play. So, love him. Please stick around. Avoid being linked anywhere else, please. Thank you. That'd be kind. Who's going to jump in?
No, I'll go.
Go on then.
I don't think you can give him or I could give him an 8 when you've lost as many games as you have. And it's not just losing games, it's the heavy defeats that we've had and how many games in a row. It's the run, but I see the promise. I love his approach. He is my favorite manager since Poch, and I think
There's not much competition.
also there isn't.
Since Poch, his three managers we all hated. Yeah.
But it's also his first season, and we have to take that into account. And everywhere he's gone, he's taken a season to get to grips with it, and that's what's going to happen. I'd love to see more flexibility from him, but part of me also thinks that he wants them to feel the pain and to learn the system, and that it's part of the learning. I think he has been hampered by a horrible injury crisis and generally done well. And I think, for me, it's a solid 7.
Ashley, David, Charlie, somebody jump in.
I'd like just what A said, a bit more flexibility. I've said this all along. I never watched him much beforehand. Premier League is a big step up. I love the guy. Wish him well. I'm glad he's with us. I hope. I don't know what it takes to be. Is it about to be an elite manager at the Premier League? Does it take this flexibility, this ability to learn from your mistakes, to challenge yourself personally, to strive higher? I hope he does. I hope he takes on those things to strive higher and take us higher. I hope so. Some of the football, when it was good, was absolutely breathtaking. And for a Spurs fan, that is our DNA. And I would love to see it over a full season, breathtaking football, even if we can't win all the games. So, I'm going to give him 7.5, maybe 7.5. Hope he learns.
I wonder what he'd give himself, to probably cast the voting system or the scale out the window and give you some complex, alternative ending in mate. But I think he's done as well as I think he probably could have expected. Ultimately, he's in the biggest league in the world. The first 10 games notwithstanding, he must have thought after those. Just imagine, he must have thought he was absolutely. I don't think he ever said this, but he must have thought he was absolutely, that his shit could not possibly stink. He's walked through the league with a bunch of players he barely even had a say-so over, and he ended up winning a hat trick of Manager of the Month. I didn't even realize he won the third one, but he did. He won 3 in a row. It's ridiculous to think that he did that. It's insane, and it just goes to show. I don't think it was beginner's luck. It was the genius of his original system. Completely undid everybody. Nobody quite knew what to do with us, and we were playing some of the best football I've ever seen us play. I'm talking Harry Redknapp, kind of like Unleashed sort of levels. Bale, Modric, Van der Vaart kind of stuff. It was amazing. I don't think there's anybody here who thought that was going to last the whole season. I just don't. It was always going to come to, injuries or people sussing us out. Ultimately, he has been given the most almighty trial by Spurs fans and by media, and that's what you get at this level. You get that every day you have to be in front of the media, and I think he's the first manager in a long time for us who I don't know, he has that sort of media personality that will sort of, I don't know, I think will be a huge, if he can get on top of it and he can use it to his benefit, I think he will be the media darling moving forward. A bit like Mourinho did in his first few seasons at Chelsea. People just loved him. I do think he does need to 2.0, 3.0 his own system. I think people will be excited to see what he comes back with. I don't think he's rigid. I just think he just didn't have time to adapt potentially with the players he had. He would probably give himself a 6, knowing Ange. So I'm just going to go with a 6 because it's not up to his standards to lose so many matches and to get so much scrutiny and to be so angry with his players on the pitch. I just don't think he'd give himself any more than that. There's so much room to improve, and we're so lucky to have somebody who is just says it as it is, and just he doesn't really hold back. He's a great character, strong, and he wants to win. You can tell he wants to win. At Spurs, I was worried for a second there after the Man City match. I'm like, he's out, but he wants to take this team, this club. You can see that he's the man to do it, and he won't stop until he's done it. So I'm so happy with Ange.
David,
I'm going to give him a 7. I had very low expectations because I didn't know very much about him, and I've been a Spurs fan so long that I'm completely pessimistic. So I told my son it would be 2 points after 8 games and he'd be fired by the end of October. So he's completely outstripped anything I thought would happen. I was slightly tongue-in-cheek when I was doing it, but there was a little
seriously?
there was a little bit of truth in it as well. I just didn't know what to expect. So in the plus points, he clearly wants to play the kind of football I want to watch, and he did it for about 10 matches, and I think he can do it again. He also, I think, despite there were rumblings that the players haven't bought in or whatever, I think that he's really got the players on his side. I think the players are excited to play for him, and I think he'll attract players. I'm sure he's going to be able to reinvent the Ange Ball 2.0 that Charlie's talking about. On the downside, I was very annoyed that he didn't get to grips fast enough with our problems on set pieces. I think that was a real shame, and that cost us probably cost us Champions League, just that single thing, because that was something that was within our grasp to change. Bad refereeing decisions you can't do anything about. Organising on set pieces you can. And there are a couple of other bits and bobs, but globally I think that's good first season. Got circumstances some of the time. Seems like a good guy. I don't pay too much attention to the press conferences, to be honest. I think it's all a big sort of charade. It's like Prime Minister's question time. It's just a waste of time. But what I see is on the pitch, and I think we're going to get there. I'm feeling good. 7.
Okay. So there you go, everybody. We've had a good long chat. We have been going for, 1 hour and 57 minutes currently. So thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for joining us. The people have been watching. We've had a probably record number of views tonight for live viewers. So thank you to everyone for that. Before we go, I would just like to point out there is a book out by one of our members here. So Harlem to Hollywood, My Real to Real Story by Ashley Colley. It's a good read. I'm enjoying it, I have to say. And also there's an album by a certain musical person in this group, which is also very good. David, would you like to tell us about that?
Well,
Do you play the guitar, David?
They're all back under the bed. I've already done it on the podcast. Talked about the album.
Oh yeah, I wrote a little story about it and a review. I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah.
There we go.
How did you?
So thank you, everybody. There we go. And Charlie, you're going to keep us up to date with anything you're up to, right? You let us know.
Yeah, you'll know. You will know if I'm
perfect.
doing anything.
All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you very, very much for joining us. I look forward to speaking to you somewhat soon. I think we'll be getting together for some transfer madness discussions, pre-season predictions, all that kind of stuff. Over the summer, we're going to be relatively quiet. I will be releasing a video going back over some of the highlights of the season and also our pre-match discussion, our pre-season discussions, and see how close we got. I'm pretty sure I said 5th, and I'm pretty sure I said Aston Villa would be a force. I'm looking good. So yeah, okay, everybody. Thank you very, very much. I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. Until then, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.